versatility, diversity, and freedom. These characteristics are embodied by the race known as the Hyur, the most populated and widespread race in the world of Hylandland. Today, we will be covering their historic progress and place in not only Eorzea, but in the world as a whole. I am the Synodic Scribe, and let us discuss what it means to be a Hyur. Their written existence can be dated back to the first astral era within Eldenard, which is the larger continent that Eorzea rests within. That being said, the Hyur were not the first native to Eorzea. Originally, the Hyur migrated to Eorzea in what's counted as at least 3 marches from foreign continents, such as Ilsabard, which is a continent northeast of Eorzea, and Orthard, which is a continent to the immediate far east of Eorzea. Be that as it may, they have the most widespread racial ties in the world because of this adventurous nature, giving them the largest recorded population of any race to this day. On top of that, they boast the largest social variety between individuals of their species. It's typical to see Hyur grow up into soldiers, mages, scholars, travelers, pioneers, craftsmen, tradesmen, and so much more. As a race, they hold many practices under their belt and tend to spearhead the fields they're in. However, because of this widespread diversity and variant aptitude, you'll find that the Hyur lack any common heritage. But, as a consolation, they are shockingly fast when it comes to adapting to new environments and culture. Much like how water changes its shape to match its container, they tend to match that of the times and place they find themselves in, making them an extremely resilient people that have acted as pathfinders throughout the world's history. In the first era, there was little to no noticeable difference between the Hyur and Eldenard, but as their time within Eorzea persisted, they began to develop into 2 distinct branches. Biology, and likely along with Eorzea's ambient ether, has pushed the Hyur into 2 distinct categories that are referred to as Midlanders and Highlanders. As the names imply, these 2 groups were developed when Hyur began living at drastically different elevations, causing a bifurcation of genetic heritage. The Highlanders were scattered across the mountainous regions of Eldenard's north, while the Midlanders persisted within the middle and southern sections of the continent. Firstly, the Midlanders lived in altitudes closer to sea level. They found residence within plains, forests, coasts, and even some desert biomes. Given their distinct nature, they can be slender, muscular, or rotund given circumstances of their heritage and lifestyle. The lack of terrain difficulty allowed them to focus intrusively on things like education, arcane practices, and technological advancement. As such, the Midlanders are the living embodiments of the jack of all trades. Their physiology has granted them resilient bodies, intellectual minds, and surprisingly deep reservoirs of natural ether. This means you'll likely see as many Midlander mages as you would fighters and engineers. More than a few Midlanders can claim the status of Archmage or Commander of fighting regimes, given their desire and talent. Being one of the most learned and progressive races, the Midlanders have contributed the most to the creation of the common tongue of the world, as well as various forms of art. All the same, however, it's noted that even the best Midlanders fall behind other races and clans that specialize in certain aspects. Their diversity betrays a lack of natural affinity over some categories, which brings us to their Highlander cousins. Many of them being descendants of those whom found a home in Girabania after the 6th Umbral Calamity. Hills and plateaus are scattered across this historic homeland, lending them to a much more robust physical appearance. Compared to the Midlanders, they possess strong physical features and a taller average height. The easiest way to distinguish a Highlander is their more heavyset frame as well as more rugged and distinct facial features. The more difficult terrain of a Highlander's heritage has given them a much greater degree of natural strength, dexterity, and physical constitution than that of the Midlanders. This has allowed them to fashion themselves into deadly warriors and hardy workers without much effort. That being said, the greater focus on physical prowess and survival has betrayed a weaker etheric connection. The Highlander mages and scholars are noticeably more rare, even non-existent within some clans. This has lent them to be seen as a more rugged group, as it is typical for them to wear wooden talismans, tattoo their bodies at young ages, and even shave their eyebrows to distinguish themselves. Although a Highlander mage is rare, it would be unwise to disregard them, as some have been known to wield magic matching that of their Midlander brethren. Okay, moving on. The reason it's so difficult to explain what the Hyur have done as a whole is because of just how widespread they are. To some degree, they have had their hand in almost every nation, practice, and historical moment. To Eorzea, the Hyur were paramount in the creation of modern civilizations. Joran Lightheart was the first to commune with the elements and founded the school of conjurers on which Gridania is built around. The Highlander, Anshelm Cutter, was a tactical genius and united the warring clans of Girirbania into what is known now as Alamigo. This isn't even including the communities built within the Far East, the New World, which is far west of Eorzea, or even Garlemald and the southern continent of Miracidia. The Hyur have seen the rise and fall of many cities, and as such, they have kept and improved things as they go, never remaining the same. But it's this idea of unrestrained ambition, freedom, and development that have led other races to consider the Hyur to be overconfident and lacking any real discipline. As a race, the Hyur are a melting pot when it comes to culture, having very few solid backgrounds to trace their ancestry from. However, this fluidity means they have the chance to do almost anything they set their minds to. To have the power and luxury of trying anything and pursue whatever goals they have wherever they want. What they lack in their own unique racial culture is greatly made up for with how they've helped lay the groundwork for so many civilizations in the entire world, time and time again. And given their resilience, they could very well outlive all other races.